Uh, Hello, all you hardcore boxing fans out there. How are you doing? It's Russ here from Porky's Corner, the biggest gob in sport. Today I'm joined by Kent from Belfast. Women love him, men want to be him. How are you doing, Kent?
How's it going, Russell? How's it going? All right, all good.
Sound. Sound. How's Belfast's most eligible bachelor?
I can't complain, Russell. I've been off work for a few days. I'm chilling out. I'm not even really doing much training. I'm actually been watching quite a lot of the snooker the
Yeah,
past few days.
yeah,
Mark Allen from Northern Ireland is doing really well. He's in the semis
good.
against Mark Selby. So just been enjoying the snooker and just enjoying a few days off work. Just
Yeah,
chilling out.
I hope Selby gets beat because he's a company man. I don't like him.
Yeah, he's kind of like a matchroom company man. I
Yeah, he's a
remember a couple of years.
cyborg. He's a cyborg and a dick.
I remember a couple of years back when Ronnie beat him in the semi. It was during COVID, and Ronnie was behind 3 frames. Selby needed to win one, and Ronnie was just like, you know what, I'm just going to hit everything. He potted everything, and Selby came out after it and says, "Well, the way Ronnie was hitting the balls and the way he was playing was disrespectful and this and that." He won the game, and I'm like, stop whinging. You were beat by the better man. You know what do you what's it's a sport about batting balls, and he did it. And from then, I just really didn't like him to be honest.
Do you know
He,
where snooker's going wrong? You've got people like Mr. Tumbleweed, whatever they call him, uh, Sean Murphy, him, and that Mark Selby. People like that don't make snooker exciting, boring. I don't want to see them on TV. Them people, they bore me to death. Do one, is what I say. They're both dicks. So that's how I see it. What do you think, Ken?
yeah, I agree with you. I think if you look at it and you see you've got the likes of John Higgins there, you've got Ronnie there, you've got Mark Williams there, you've got that old guard. There's no real personalities coming through. You know, you've got Mark
What's this
Allen.
Q school they'll have to go through and all that? Have you seen that?
Yeah, well, that's the same as the PDC darts. That's a matchroom thing. So what happens is you can go the Q school and you pay. I think it's 500 or something pound it is to enter Q school. Then you have to win X amount of games during the 3 days, and you're given a tour card. If you don't obviously win, you come away with nothing. But there's a European Q school. I think there's an Asian tour school, and I think there is a UK based tour school. So it's listen, £500 times X amount of players. It's a massive, massive money maker. And when you get through, you get a tour card, and that means you can be a qualifier on the main tour.
Well, let me tell you this, Kent, right? Some of them I've seen, right, that are ranked, about 150 and 180. They've been through that. And
Yep,
I look at them and the standard of play. And I swear to God, mate, if I had 6 months on my own, right, and I just had just food and water, nothing else in my system. 6 months, I could beat some of them over 5 frames.
of course you could. Yeah,
Fucking
Ronnie
tear them
said
apart,
that.
right? Some of the safety
Ronnie's
play is shocking. And you know what? The cue ball, whatever happened to the cue ball's not on the bolt cushion. And if there's a red between blue and pink, whatever happened to having a go? They're tied up in
you're
that much safety now, they don't go for them. There's no flamboyancy, is there?
You're absolutely right, and you
Hmm.
look at the young players coming through. They need time. When the likes of Ronnie and all retire, and Mark Williams and Higgins, there's going to be a massive gap in personalities. Maybe you've Trump there. Trump's playing more safety game at the minute. He is attacking. That's why he's went backwards. You look at players who were really attacking. They're just playing too safe. I like Mark Allen. I think Mark Allen's a brilliant personality. He doesn't care what he says. He's quite open about his opinions on the tour and that. I remember a couple.
Did Ronnie come through with? Matthew Stevens, Paul Hunter, or John Higgins, all that age group, weren't they?
Yeah, they all come through
Yeah,
together.
they're
So they
all that
did.
group, aren't they? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's Ronnie's probably highest ranked out of all that age group now, isn't he?
Yeah. Then you had, he came out and said a couple of years ago that, the standard's crap. He says, after we all go, he says, how can I and Mark Williams and John Higgins still be at the top of our game? Where's all this young talent coming through? And you look at even the likes of Hendry and all, when they were coming through back in the day, there was real competition. Now it's 4 times, 5 times bigger rankings. There's more ranking events. There's more players, but the standard hasn't really got any better.
Yeah, Jimmy White and Alex Higgins were knackered when they got to 40 and that. But your eyes go, don't they, and stuff like that. But I just think that they need to get some new players in, don't they? They can't rely on old guys. I mean, I don't want to see Mr. Tumbleweed, Sean Murphy. He's a company man in. And I don't
Oh,
want to
he's
see
company
Mark
man.
Selby because if it's left to them to carry a game of snooker,
Nah,
the
gone,
game's at it, mate, hasn't it?
gone. Well, this guy coming through, Sai from China, he's in the semi final now against Brazil. He's
Yeah.
14-5 up. He is I think he's the highest, lowest ranked player ever to get the semi final.
Was
He's only
it?
20, and he's just potting everything.
Good,
He's
well,
unreal.
that's good, because I like to see attacking play, me. I like to see it. I like to see him go for pots that get you on edge of your seat. I like to see him do something with the cue ball. We can all see these professional snooker players in snooker halls doing stuff with the cue ball in practice. Do what you do in practice, take it onto the table and forget about the money. Let's put bums on seats.
Yeah, the quality of the tables and all as well is a lot better than the club
You know what
tables,
I
so they
mean?
should be able to be potting and be more attacking. You're absolutely right
Listen,
there.
mate, you know the balls they're playing with, right? The match balls, they're made of is it anthracite? They're so much faster than your normal balls that you get in clubs and that, and they can perform miracles with them balls. These professional players, mate. I first found it hard to pot them. They're really hard to pot because they're just slightly that touch bigger than normal balls, and they run faster. So it takes some getting used to, but they can perform miracles. Look, they do 147 breaks, don't they, from young ages, all them boys. So they
Yeah,
should take that tables practice stuff into match or exhibition stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Every
It
now
would
and then
just
they
make
go,
it
go on.
just make it more exciting for people to watch.
Yeah, but every now and then they go for a flare shot, don't they, and miss it. Well, fair enough. But go for flare shots when you're 60 points up. Give us something. I don't want to watch Mark Selby. I would rather lock myself in a shed with no light. Watch Mark Selby. It's torture. I mean, I've got to feel sorry
Yeah,
for Mark Selby's wife. I mean, Jesus.
she's
Pray
actually a good
prayer for
pool
her. Hey, with
player.
big lip. Hey, with
She
big
she's
lips.
ac-
Yeah.
she was actually a world pool champion. So she was. It would
What's
be like, you know what? Your worst nightmare would be watching Cliff Thorburn against Mark Selby. Whoa.
yeah, Cliff Foreman. Oh, Ebden.
Fuck me.
Ebden.
Oh my word.
Ebden against Terry Griffiths.
Do you remember Abden made Ronnie scratch the face of himself in the World Championships? He just
Yeah,
totally knackered him.
yeah.
Totally knackered him.
So,
Brutal. Absolutely brutal.
all right then, Ken. Right, let's move on then. So, what's been happening in the sport of boxing in Kent's world?
Did you watch Tank and Garcia last week?
I did watch it. He cut him down like cheddar cheese.
Unreal. What was a great performance, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Apparently, it got over 1 million buys in pay per view. What do you think to that?
Well, I think to that. Uh,
Yeah,
I think that's good, isn't it?
yeah. It's good to see that there's actually big fights getting made. It's good for the fans. I think in America, the threat that they have in the American market is the UFC, because they're constantly outperforming them in pay per view subscription. I think with what's going on in the heavyweight division at the minute, that nobody's actually fighting each other. It's good to see the lighter weights actually fighting each other and putting on pay per view events that people are actually going to pay for and actually want to watch. It's refreshing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely refreshing.
If there's any women out there that want to date Kent, porkycorner@mail.com. Send me your details. We're going to get Kent a woman this year, aren't we, Kent?
I'm trying to be serious here.
Oh, you need something happening in your life, Kent. There's more to life than box wreck.
Well, know that. Apparently, I've got box rack
Wallpaper.
wallpapered on my bedroom walls.
You haven't, yeah? You haven't, you Kent?
Yeah. No, I
I've
don't.
just seen a picture of you, Kent, doing Belfast Marathon on internet. You're a bit of a celebrity around your way, aren't you?
Yeah, I competed for probably about 8 years. Had a couple of good performances in the marathon distance in Belfast at the time. It was they've changed the course now. The course is a lot easier. It's a lot faster. I just loved that old course. It was really tough,
Could you
really
run fast
challenging.
at school, Kent?
I didn't really train at school. I didn't really do much sport at school. I just went out with my mates and played and climbed and messed about. Didn't really get into sport until
Or did you climb, Kent?
just out
Mountains and
playing.
that?
Yeah, well, I live near a mountain and I live next to a kind of big forest at the time. So we were just out playing around the forest and up around the trails and the mountains.
You're one of
Didn't
them
really.
Bear Grylls type guys, aren't you, Kent? You?
I do. I like running. I like running on mountains and trails.
Go
There's
on,
something really
Kent.
peaceful about it. So yeah, I didn't really start sport until I was sat in secondary school. Played a bit of football and then started boxing when I was 16. I was a late starter in boxing. Then
Yeah.
I'd done that until my mid-20s. Then just basically did a bit of cycling, bit of swimming. Then obviously in my later years, I'd done competitive running for about 10 years. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I like being as awkward as I like being as active as possible.
Is it easy for you being a runner, Kent, because you're skinny?
I think I always had a really good. I think it goes back to your childhood. You know, being active. I was always active as a kid. I was always out playing.
Yeah.
I think when you do that over a period of time, it builds an aerobic base. It builds your aerobic capacity. So when you do start doing stuff later life, you have that aerobic base behind you of years of being active. So yeah, I found it. I found to start. I was pretty fast, but I had no endurance to hold the speed. So I kind of got a good coach, and I worked for about 5 or 6 years. And I had some good performances, and I think I won a couple of half marathons, 10Ks, won some races, and yeah, just enjoyed it. So it did. It was took up a lot of time, but you know, you're training at that level. You know, it's like a second job. You need to be on it. You need to be in bed early every night. Need to be eating the right foods. You need to be training every day. Some days twice, 3 times a day. But at the minute, I'm kind of just happy. I get trained. At the minute, I would probably train at least 10 times a week over a week. So I'm just
Okay.
happy doing that. I'm just happy doing that.
Okay. Right then, Kent. The heavyweight division. Right, we're going to talk heavyweight division here. And I want to talk about going back in history, all these champions and what they've exactly done. Now, I want you to read out, Ken, how many world champions the top 10, these top 10, well, not top 10, but 10 heavyweights we've picked, famous heavyweight boxers, and how many world champions they've beaten, and go down and read it, Ken.
So I'm
Start
gonna
at Ali.
start. I'm started Ali, 16 world champions.
Go on.
Holyfield, 15 world champions. Lennox, 14 world champions. Tyson, 10 world champions.
Mike Tyson.
Yeah. Mike Tyson, the proper Tyson. Riddick Bowe, 10. Larry Holmes, 10. Usyk, 7. Joshua, 5. Fury, 4. And Bruno, 1.
That's it. So point we're trying to make is here, right? Go on to the next one, Ken, and read them out.
Then we have
You got me to
British
read it
fight.
out, Kent, yeah?
Yeah, you can read it out. You
All right.
read that one
Froch
out.
10, Calzaghe 10, Naz 9, Atten 8, Ben 7, Agler 7, Clinton Woods 4, Robin Reed 4, Eubank Senior 4, Saunders 2. Saunders 2. That's it.
Then you've
Andy
Khan.
Lee and David Lemieux. It's like the point we're making is the fighters nowadays don't want to fight anybody. Tyson Fury is running around saying he's a GOAT. Well, you should say that because he's a boxer, he should give you some confidence. But when you've got historians like Steve Bunce who are writing books on historical heavyweights, I've got the book here in front of me, it's staring at me, right? They're saying Tyson Fury's a GOAT. How can he be a GOAT when he has beaten Steve Cunningham, an old blown up cruiserweight, Wilder twice, and Vladimir, an old man? And don't forget, Wilder's only beaten Stavern as the world champion he's beat, although he beat him twice, didn't he? Stavern knocked him out, and first time went to points, didn't it? So, really, these heavyweights today are not fighting anybody, are they?
No, they're not. Listen, you look at those resumes, and you even go back and you look at the fighters that they've beat on them resumes. It is, you just look at even Lennox. You look at Holyfield. You look at Ali. You look at the quality of the champions that they actually fought. And then you look at their losses, and you look to even the fighters that they lost to, as well as beaten. It's quite staggering. So it is compared to today's fighters. Is it the fighters' fault? Is it the network's fault? Or is it the promoter's fault? I personally think everyone there is to blame for that. Everyone.
Well, somebody's to blame for it, aren't they? Because why are these fighters running around saying the GOATs, and why are Steve Bunce and them and Gareth A. Davis, these great historians, not turning around to people like Tyson Fury and saying, Tyson, you've got the potential to be a GOAT, but your record's piss poor compared to these other guys. So no, you're not a GOAT. He's not even in top 20.
No, definitely not.
Top
Definitely
20,
not.
mate.
Definitely not. And
And
that's
let's go for a league.
and that's without, you look at fighters there we didn't mention. You look at Joe Frazier. You look at George Foreman as well. So there's other fighters in there who are greats we didn't even mention in that list on the
Joe
fighters.
Frazier, Form, and all them ain't got all day just flicking through it, man. The point I'm trying to make is that these fighters are not taking challenges. This last era, like Nick Manners was saying to me, from his era, Clinton's
Yeah,
era and all that kind of era. They're last of the great era, innit? Look at Clinton's era with all them like heavyweights. Froch's era with Super Six. What does anybody even know any super middleweights nowadays?
yeah, it's a terrible, but
On world scene, who is it? Are they
yeah,
like heavyweights? Are they super middleweights? There's no
it's
name
just a
jumping at Ken. There's no name jumping out at me, is there?
no, 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 definitely not. There's not a fighter there in those divisions. You even look at the middleweight division as well. It is absolutely terrible. There's
Fred
no.
Bear. It's Fred Bear, mate. It's Fred Bear. So these heavyweight CVs here. I mean, you've only got to look at them. They're way off being up there with Holyfield, Lennox, and Ali, aren't they? These sort of guys, your Joshua's and Tysons. I mean, Usyk's further up ladder than them, isn't he? Really, who he's took on. Well, do you know Usyk's only had 20 fights as a pro, and he's beat 7 world champions, and it's all been away from home, like in their gardens.
It's he's a remarkable career, and
He's a
that's
roadman killer, Ken. He's a roadman.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's this whole thing where you look at the career he had as an amateur. He fought everyone as an amateur. He beat everyone as an amateur. He came straight in to the professional boxing, and instantly, see this whole thing where a fighter needs 25 fights before they challenge for a title. That doesn't, you see, as an elite amateur, you should not be doing that. You should be basically in fighting for a world title within 5 fights. if you're serious about the sport, if your team's serious about the sport, if you're a legit fighter, you should be fighting for a world title right away.
Ken,
You look at his record. Not one fighter in Alexander Usyk's record has a losing record.
Kent, you're right.
None.
Right, Kent. You look at Larry Holmes' record. He was fighting guys like Roy Williams when he was 21-0. Look at Nigel Benn's record and James Toney. They were going in with guys like Sanderline Williams. They were roadmen. Sanderline Williams were a killer roadman. He'd be a world champion today, Sanderline Williams.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? Many fights was it before Usyk? 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fights in. He's won a world title.
Listen,
Usyk.
Usyk's career is 350 amateur fights, 335 and 15, and he rematched for 11 or 12 of them. The guy's a road man. He's like
He's a
Sonny
goat.
Edwards.
He's a proper goat, isn't he? He is a proper goat. There's no mistake about it. And think about how good technically he is. You know why this whole. You know what? I'm going to say something here, and it may at least Joshua actually fought him twice.
Yeah, only because he got paid.
Yeah, well, but he actually, at least he thought him. At least, Tyson Fury can come out and say what he wants about AJ and this and that. At least he's actually fought him twice.
Yeah. But Usyk's a road man. But then again, Sonny Edwards is his weight division, like I said, isn't he? He's doing good, isn't he?
Well, I tell you what, I actually listened to him on DAZN last week, and he was actually a really good pundit. He actually came across really well,
He's
really
not
knowledgeable.
scared at establishment, is he?
No, he's completely, he's a complete heel in boxing terms. He's just completely, and you know what? It kind of didn't really get him anywhere before, but I think now boxing actually needs the heel character. It needs someone that's actually gonna stand up and actually say how they feel about boxing and just how they feel in general. Just be organic. Just be an organic personality. Just be normal. Just be yourself. I think that's what boxing needs at the minute. Just people actually just being normal and being themselves.
Right, Kent. I'm going to throw a few permutations at you here. We could be here all day with permutations. Tell me which ones you like. Bacoli against Dillian. Joyce against Zhang. Dillian against Zhang. Which one do you like? Or Joyce against Bacoli?
I don't. I really like Bacoli. I think Billy Nelson sells him well. He's been around everywhere. He's kind of the undefeated heavyweight sparring champion of the world.
Yeah.
But I think it's time we need to see that. I think the yoga performance has kind of been. Is it as good now because of the Takam loss? But I would like to see. I would just like to see him in with somebody good. I like Zhang. I think Zhang's just brilliant. I think he's improved so much. The first time I seen Zhang was on a Triller card, and he was atrocious. Was it Triller or was it a DAZN card against Jeremy Forrest? And he gassed really bad. He was lucky to get that draw, and from that, he's really improved. I think he's got a good for somebody that doesn't speak English. He's actually got a really good personality. He comes across really like funny at times.
Oh, that's Zhang.
Zhang, yeah, he's a bit of a personality, especially for somebody that's non-English speaking. He seems to have a good personality. I would like to see Joyce rematch him. I think it will happen. I don't think there's a lot of content creators putting stuff out this week that they're saying that Joe Joyce is ducking Zhang, and to be honest with you, that's absolute nonsense. That's like saying Lennox Lewis ducked Oliver McCall because he had to take 3 or 4 fights after the loss to rematch him again. So I think it's just getting logistics right in the rematch clause and where it is and what's happening and when it is. High as I is, I don't think, because he didn't activate it automatically doesn't mean he's ducking anyone. I would love to see that fight again, but I think Zhang beats him again. I think Joe Joyce's style suited Zhang, really suited him. He doesn't move his head at all. It's on that center line. He's very predictable at times. I think Zhang's really, really good at boxing off a pivot. Watch him high punches after he pivots. He's a really good step. He's really heavy handed as well. So I would like to see Zhang fight. I would watch Zhang against any heavyweight. Any heavyweight. I think he's a really, really good fighter. He's exciting. You don't know what you're going to get from him.
Is that your answer, Kent, to that other question?
I don't really want to see Dillian White. I don't really want to see Dillian White against anyone, Russell. How
What?
can you?
Yeah,
What's he done? What's he done? What's he done to deserve another pay-per-view fight?
he
What's
called
he done?
Petrolia a nonce.
That's but why does that mean it's going to be a pay-per-view fight now? No.
In his tiny skull, he thinks it is because he's got the brain of a pea, size of a pea.
How's Bacoli? How could you justify Bacoli as a pay-per-view fighter at the minute? He's not.
No, but White said he's pay-per-view. He's only ever beat the sister, hasn't he, at the pay-per-view? He's only ever been the bride, hasn't he? Sorry, the bride.
Well, you look at the last performance against Tyson Fury. He lost every second of every round. It's not really.
He
It's not
fought
really
that
the.
Franklin last, did he, Kent?
He fought Franklin, and I thought Franklin beat him. Thought he was dire in that fight. You
Well,
look at his
Dillian's
performance.
calling out Zhang.
He's not going to take that. No way. No way is he going to take that. How is that even a pay per view fight? Yeah, Zhang beat Joe Joyce, who is a good name brand fighter, who beat Daniel Dubois, has beat everyone. He stepped up through the levels really quick.
I think we've gone off track here. Dylan White against Zhang, that'll be pay-per-view, mate. That's pay-per-view. Zhang's just done Joyce, isn't he?
Yeah, but you need the both fighters to be per pay-per-view quality.
I understand that, Kent, but in the current climate, they'll go for pay-per-view. Dillian against Zhang. He's done Joyce, hasn't he, mate? He's Olympic silver medal.
Yeah. In the current climate, it is a pay-per-view fight, but as you talk about pay-per-view fights, like, what is a pay-per-view fight now?
Well, a pay-per-view fight nowadays is anything that we can get our hands on because
yeah,
half of action and the bit divisions at stalemate, even though everybody's coming to life with the begging bowls, they're all putting themselves forward for a case. We're hearing, I mean, YouTubers don't know what to put out now because everything's changing by the day. By the time you put out late, it's back in fashion again.
yeah, you're right. You're right. And you talk about today's climate, you look at pay-per-view fights back in the day, watching boxing, growing up as a kid. I remember Frank Bruno, Mike Tyson. That was a massive pay-per-view fight. Everybody wanted to watch Mike Tyson coming out of jail, being this monster. Then you go now to today's climate and you look at Bellew and Cleverly too. So that says it all. And I kind of see where you're coming from on that.
We had to sit and watch Bellew and Isaac Chilemba for free, didn't we?
My word. Did they actually do that twice? They done that twice, did they not?
Listen, mate. Eddie loves a rematch.
Awful fight. Awful, awful, awful. Isaac Chilemba. Wow. Awful fight. But I think anyone Dillian fights, moving forward, anybody who can punch, I'll just put him in the orbit. He was knocked out by Povetkin, put in the orbit with, as Billy Nelson says, the least effective punch in boxing. So I don't know. I think he's just sitting, waiting around, waiting for a big opportunity.
All right then, Kent. What about Zhang, Dylan White in China? Dylan White's calling it on in China.
It's massive, massive. You look at. I was actually saying this the other day in work. Zhang had 11 million people tune in to the Joe Joyce fight.
Yeah, I heard
Uh,
12.
That's huge. That's huge numbers.
Oh, Derek's
Uh,
putting the Senate mix for Zhang in China now. Derek
well,
Ward.
that.
He's talking about going into trenches and World War III, and this is it, and he's going to bring it.
He's been saying that for the last 5 years, and he's 13 losses in his record. You can't possibly put him in a pay-per-view fight after that performance against. He shouldn't even be allowed to box
Well, Derek's
after that.
last 16 fights, he's gone 8-8.
It's not. It's not exactly pay-per-view worthy, even in today's climate.
Yeah, but Kent, what you're forgetting is that Del Boy, he flips tables over and he wears tea
That's right.
towel on his head.
Yeah, yeah, and he wants a Rolex and all this. And remember the whole row in Germany at the Klitschko fight, after the Klitschko fight with, remember David Hay and Chisora? That was absolute chaos. You're forgetting that. Remember he threw the camera stand and it hit Don Charles in the head or something like that there, and the whole big row kicked off. Flipping heck. That was absolute chaos. That was cringe. Absolute cringe. I think, and even Eddie came out and said that time that he actually asked Del Boy to flip the table against Dillian White. So people know now it's not authentic.
Yeah, it's not good, is it? But there's got a good lot of permutations there, Kent, though, isn't there, when you think about it, mate? I mean, Del Boy and Zhang, I mean, it's not going to happen, is it? But I'd like to see Zhang in with Joyce again in rematch, see if Joe can turn it around. If not, Del Boy can always fight Joyce. Then they could call that a crossroads fight, couldn't they?
Yeah, they've been saying that for. I think they've been saying, Del Boy's the gatekeeper, but I think the gate's well and truly locked as far as being the gatekeeper. But you're right, it all depends, and if they get behind Zhang and they actually want to promote him as a star in China, with those numbers, a network should be behind him over there. That would be absolutely the money that would bring in pay-per-view rep. 12 million people watching him as a pay-per-view star would be off the charts. He could probably end up one of the biggest stars in boxing because of the territory that he's from.
Yeah.
But
Ken, when you look at the current lot, you look at like if you compare them to like Nintendo characters, Dylan White's carrying off like he's M Bison, isn't he? But he ain't really. M Bison's the guy at the end. He's like Tyson Fury
he
or Usyk.
he's the big boss at the end of the level.
Yeah, and Chisora is
Yeah,
one of them on lower levelers. You have to go through him to get to M Bison, don't you?
yeah, yeah. And at the end of the level, you've got the boss. You need to go through him. But I think Dillian's just saying anything to promote himself, to get himself in another fight. But you just have to watch the Povetkin knockout, and you just have to watch the performance against Tyson Fury. That's not pay-per-view worthy. Like you can't come back after them losses and as well the Franklin win. You have to go and earn a big. Now if he went out and he knocked out Zhang, or he knocked out somebody really good coming up the rankings, or he was brought in as an opponent against Jared Anderson and beat him, you couldn't argue with it. But even on today's climate, after those three performances, I can't see how it's justified that he's in a pay-per-view fight.
Okay. What about Dubois and Usyk? Does that happen, Kent?
I think it all depends in the mega tournament in Saudi. I think nothing's been reached yet. Nothing's been sealed. Nothing's been talked about. The way the WBA work is they're a sanctioning body and they get a percentage of the purse. Now you look at the purse bid on Dubois and you say, what do you think that purse bid would be for that fight?
I don't think it'd be a lot, about 5 million or something.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe around the region of 3 million. So that has to generate pay-per-view, and the sanctioning body would actually have to get a cut of that. So if you put in, say, Usyk against Wilder, what would their purse be between them and?
Well, somebody might try and put a massive bid in, but it might just there might not be that money on the table. They might have already agreed it with fighters. You see.
You see, the difference between the Tyson Fury and Dillian White purse bid was that fight was going to be in Wembley, and they knew it was going to sell out. They knew it was going to bring a lot of
This is the
tickets.
copper box job, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's going to be a copper box. If that, so you look at that, and that was going to generate some money back, and then the next they were going to recoup some of that back with another stadium fight. So you have 3 or 4 big stadium fights. They'll get that money back with profit. Now you look at, I've got my business head on here. You've got Usyk against Dubois. That's not going to sell out a stadium. Now Usyk, for me, is the bigger draw. The UK fans have shown with pay-per-view numbers that they want to watch Usyk, and they've come out and seen him. You know, in the Bellew fight, he was the A side in that. But against Dubois, I don't think Dubois endears himself to sell any pay-per-view at all. I don't think he's got the personality. I don't think he's even got the wit to do that. And I don't think that fight really, really sells, even pay-per-view wise, especially after, the Kevin Lorena fight.
Yeah.
And the performance against Joe Joyce. I think Usyk would absolutely school him. I think he would stop him inside 6 rounds.
Yeah.
School him. Yeah, I'd school him.
What about Dillian White against Deontay Wilder, Kent?
That's an orbit job. That's a rocket ship. That's going to the Saturn. So it is that it all depends. Everything is dependent now on this tournament. Now, is it going to be a 4-man tournament? Is it going to be 2 semi-finals and the final? That would mean it would happen pretty quick. The bigger the tournament, the more pay-per-view and the more the people are going to watch it. So is it going to be an 8-man tournament with maybe the likes of who would you bring it?
Big Meat,
Zhang.
Wilder.
Zhang. Well, they would be in the top 4, so it would be Tyson Fury. It would be Tyson Fury, Usyk, Wilder, and Big Meech. And then you've got the outside guys there. You've got Zhang. You've got Dubois. You've got Hergovic, who I don't want to watch. He's terrible. And you've got maybe the likes of Jared Anderson. I don't think Top Rank would put him. It depends what the relationship now with Top Rank and Tyson Fury are. If they've still got that relationship, they'll want to keep the belt on him for money. But if not, I think they'll gamble with Jared Anderson. But apparently Jared Anderson's signed to fight Zan Kazabuski next in June. Now Frank Warren has got a promotional interest in him, so that could be something going forward. Kanabuski's actually a really, really good fighter, really good amateur. But it depends. I personally think the tournament would be better as an 8-man tournament.
Yeah.
Far better.
Want to go to part 2, Ken?
Yep.
Right. I think we'll go on to part 2. Let me just point out that anybody reading questions out on any YouTube channels from A Porky's Corner is not from me. But all you have to do is click on the part that says about, and it'll tell you when the channel was set up. Now, mine was set up 2017 November. All right, it's not rocket science. Reading questions out from a fake Porky's. Jesus. People will do out for views. Hey, unbelievable. Right, into part 2 then with Kent. Women love him. Men want to be him.